We will look to the certification and exam resources and additional resources that you could find very useful for preparing for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate exam. So if you prepare for the AWS Certificate Associate exam, there is in the examination, there is 4 domains that we need to pay attention to. In domain 1, we will look to design resilient architectures, and this is 30% of the exam and cover the following objectives: designing a multi-tier architecture using load balancer, autoscaler. So these are very important for covering these. Designing as well an RDS with multi-AZ deployment as well. You will find the project that we did, which is the multi-tier architecture, very useful on that when you have web app and a DB tier, and how they can be highly available and highly scalable and fault tolerant as well. Designing the coupling mechanism using AWS services, remember load balancer, and a service like SQS and SNS, you need to know all about them. Choosing appropriate resilient storage, so which kind of a storage class, whether it is S3, simple storage service, or elastic block storage volume, or even elastic file system, and FSX for Windows file system. So these are the key main topic that you need to worry about them when you look to the main exam or the first domain in the exam. The second one is designing high-performing architecture, identifying elastic, scalable compute solution for your workload. So here you need to understand the auto-scaling strategy, the simple, the dynamic, the proactive scaling as well. And you will look to high-performing and scalable storage. So this is when you design your solution workload. You also need to high-performing networking solution like site-to-site VPN, VPC peering. You could also look to AWS Direct Connect, Internet Gateway, NAT Gateway as well, high-performing database solution, and the differences between DynamoDB and RDS, when to use DynamoDB and when you use RDS. And when you use a managed service like RDS, or you use your own custom EC2 instance and you put your own database engine on it. So these are very important for that. So you need to look back for the input-output operation per second, the backup storage for each database layer, and what is the provisioned storage as well. Now, in domain 3, with designing secure applications and architecture, here we want to design secure access to AWS. So this is mainly will be IAM, the roles we create, the users, the groups, the IAM policy, the IAM simulator. Also for the solution architect, it will be vital for you to know the parameters we use in the cloud formation, for example, the blocks in the cloud formation, and each one of them, like condition, the parameters, what they do, the output, what they do, and the resources as well, what they do and what they refer to. Designing secure application tiers, this is with application security. So here you need to look for AWS KMS, Key Management System. You need to look to S3 encryption of data at rest and in transit. For both S3 and the Glacier, they are the same, whether you use the AS256 or use KMS. Then you need to look to WAF to secure your application. The web application framework protects you from denial of service attack and distributed denial of service attack. And this will be related to data security option that you can use in your architecture and appropriate one. For cost-optimized architecture, I find the TCO is very important. The TCO activity that we did together is very important in this domain because you will be able to identify the trade-off between the solution. And look, for example, for disaster recovery patterns. Some of these patterns are very cheap to implement, but you will get a very big and large RTO. So you need to do this kind of a trade-off between the cost and your objectives and business value. So identifying cost-effective storage, you need to look to S3 storage class. You need to look to elastic block storage optimization and provisioning, cost-effective compute and database. The EC2 cost optimization class will be very relevant here when you use spot instances, when you use reserved instances, when you use elastic block storage, for example, and different type and family of them. So you use input, output, provisioned throughput or cold storage, or you use the provisioned input, output operation per second with a high IOs or with high throughput. So you trade off between those in order to reduce your cost. And the last one is designing cost-optimized network architecture. Again, will be the VPN gateway, the direct connect, whether you use direct connect or use site-to-site VPN. It's depend on the architecture that you are referring to. Most importantly, you will receive as well more question about VPCs, security group, access list, also in this domain. And also review the full exam guide. And also there is the sample exam question, and there is the practice exam that you can go and check. Not necessarily the practice exam will give you the same questions that you will face in the exam, but they will tell you how ready you are and how much you have a lot of knowledge about the material itself and your understanding and your ability to build in the cloud. Remember, in the AWS Solution Architect, the most important thing is that you have 1 year of hands-on experience designing available, cost-effective, fault-tolerant, and scalable distributed system in AWS. So regardless how much time you study and how much a practice exam you did, still your ability to build in the cloud will be the major skill that will let you pass this exam, because it will test your practical ability and your skills. It will not really test your knowledge as theoretical knowledge. So if you did all the guided lab and the challenge lab and the project in this class, you will find the exam is a bit easier than just studying the theory. So try to practice as much as you can. Also, I recommend that you go to AWS project and choose 1 or 3 projects and you start to implement them just to get more experience. So it's mainly hands-on experience, guys. And this is your ability that you need to show that you have the technical skills to be a solution architect. So the exam readiness training now, it has been moved. So you can go to Skills Builder in AWS and you can use your Amazon account to access the exam readiness workshop, and you will access as well a free solution architect practice exam where every time you log in, it will give you a different set of exams. And this practice exam is also available free of charge. The AWS white papers and guides, they are very important so you can expand your knowledge specifically to the foundational services like the storage, compute, networking, and database. So this white paper can give you a better and deep understanding of the technical content, which are authored by AWS and AWS community. The well-architected framework and the well-architected lab, I'm planning also to put a lot of tutorials about the well-architected lab, which I find them very useful. They will give you an insight and hands-on experience in building for each pillar, for the security pillar, operational excellence, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization. And browse the product and technical frequently asked questions to familiarize yourself with commonly raised questions and issues. And also I recommend, if you have a job interview with AWS, to go and review those FAQs. They are very relevant because this is what customers ask. And most importantly, Amazon EC2, SC3, these are the widely used services, are very important for the solution architect, the VPC, Route 53 as well, RDS and SQS. These are like very famously used services in AWS. So pay attention to the question they ask about them, because this is what will normally appear in the exam. For additional resources, you could look to the AWS documentation, could look to a very famous series in YouTube and also in the AWS website. This is my architecture, explaining different architecture done by business people. And finally, you could look to the cloud adoption framework. So this is pretty much what we need to do for the exam. Thank you so much.